Hey everyone, welcome back to Project Eunoia. Today I have a special guest with me, Cyril. Say hi.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about the power of drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, drugs are
Great.
amazing. What's your favorite drug?
Um,
We're just gonna go right into it. No, I'm kidding.
let's honestly probably weed. What about you?
Okay, when I was like younger, I was like, I was never gonna do drugs ever. And now I'm like, so bad. That's fine. Like, you can smoke as much weed as you want. But sometimes it does have bad things on your health,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
there are certain side effects to like weed and drugs and you know overconsumption. There's a certain point where with any drug it becomes like too much,
Mhm. And I mean, like, mostly the reason why people like start doing drugs or taking drugs is to escape.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's when people start getting dependent on it and becoming obsessed with the fact that they need it every day.
Yeah. There was a study in like the 50s, or not 50s. It was during World War II, maybe, or maybe even the Vietnam War, where they actually gave meth or heroin to the soldiers on the front lines, just as an escape from the hell that they lived through. And during that time, before all the soldiers came back home, everyone was concerned that everyone from the war that was coming back would be a meth head or like just crazy on drugs. But in reality, the users that came back to loving homes and like families, they stopped using. They weren't dependent on it. And because they needed that escape factor in Vietnam or during war, coming back home was even better than heroin.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree. Like, if you're getting to come home from that hell, it would 100% be better. Yeah, so that's definitely so true. Like, an everyday life,
Yeah.
and people, even if you're like not going through a war, people, even if they're just sad, just like the simplest thing, drugs will take them to a completely whole different universe.
Yeah.
And it destroys like the people that you would never think would ever.
Let their lives be consumed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got it.
It's, yeah, honestly, we're all fighting our own battles and our own wars. And even if they're not wars that you fight with guns or on the front lines, there's still battles you fight. And like sometimes you just need that escape or like that release. It's something.
Yeah. And honestly, the reason why I really wanted to talk about drugs mainly is because I feel like it's really looked at as really negatively,
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna say, but there's a lot of positives to some of it as long as you don't get ahead of yourself. You know what I mean? There's so many people who really do become dependent on stuff that they shouldn't because let's say you get prescription, okay, and you get prescribed something that's really strong. I know the drug that I got from the doctor, when I Googled it, it was like, oh, you might get addicted to this. And thank God I didn't. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but there are certain people who will get addicted to something when all they want is to just be happy in the end of the day and not anything dramatic where let's say you're taking heroin, that's completely different than taking something prescription and trying to use that as a way to become healthier. But that really does burden a lot of people with like getting prescription drugs and stuff. People get scared.
Yeah. There's with prescription drugs, there's just so many problems that come along with the territory, but at the same time, like, prescription drugs are like necessary in our society, but people that abuse those medicines and like treatments, then it's kind of shitty on like everyone else and just like as a whole.
When we talk about mental health, and sometimes people would be like, oh, don't be afraid to take the drugs that your doctor gives you, but at the same time, if you don't understand like what this drug is, and you don't understand how it's gonna affect your body physically and mentally, because sometimes people get even more depressed,
Yeah.
and like way worse on like that prescription, and that's why they result to like harsh drugs.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy.
exactly, and that's why like I smoked weed for so long. Like when I first started smoking weed, my first time that I smoked it, I cried so much.
You're having a breakdown.
Yeah,
first. It's so cute.
I literally cried. I don't even know why.
What made you cry? What made little Inez cry over weed?
I think I smoked weed for the first time with these two friends that I used to work with a long time ago. But they introduced me to it. But when I smoked for the first time, I just like started bawling and I could not stop at all. I don't know what's wrong with me. And so over time, I just started smoking more weed.
Oh,
And
okay.
I got better at it. Like I never cried again.
There have been a few times.
She's like, oh, I live with you. I know exactly what happens behind these closed doors.
And that's fine. We just smoke more weed.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, when I smoked weed, I would green out a lot.
Ooh.
I hate that shit.
I love that shit. It's not that I love it. It's just that I have done it so much that I'm used to it. I don't know.
So when you green out now, let's say, is it the same feeling as how you greened out the first time you smoked weed?
It's very similar. The first time that I greened out was super scary, and like I thought I was literally dying, and I woke up in the hospital the next day. I swear to God, I told you this.
No, you didn't.
Okay. Well, that was like one of my first times greening out. And then throughout the years, I definitely know when it's coming.
And how to stop.
Yeah, like because I have poor self-control and inhibition. I learned how to cope with greening out, because like, a lot of it is anxiety that you feel in your head. It's like, oh, I'm dying, I'm like, tripping out, I'm gonna throw up, and like you probably are, but being able to mitigate that with like certain practices, or like understanding what your body needs in that moment, despite being so baked out of your mind.
Yeah.
It's just a learning process. You know, when you're like really good at throwing up when you drink a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I could say that. I'd rather be smoking weed than drinking alcohol if I was somewhere. Unless I was at the club, like that's different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I would, if I was like at a party or something, I'd rather just like smoke weed. But nowadays, because of my anxiety, like I have to smoke indica, which means like I have to chill out, which also means I can't party with weed anymore. So I'm stuck with alcohol. But hey, the good thing is that I'm not putting myself in dangerous situations where I have to take like really strong drugs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because hey, I could take Molly. Like Molly's okay. Like I'm not gonna be it's good for you, but it's better than freaking doing
Heroin.
crack.
Yeah.
Okay, there's certain drugs that you can literally minimize the use in, but you can take to
just like recreationally.
Yeah, not like a fix.
Yeah,
for
you don't
something.
fiend for these drugs. It's not like a dependency.
Exactly.
And yeah, that's you got to do that with like anything you ingest in your body, especially drugs.
Can you tell us what drugs you've...
I've only done a few things. It's like I've like the usual weed. I don't know. It depends, like what I'm in the mood for. Like,
It's like I've done everything. It's just
No.
like when I like it, I'll do it.
when I wake up, I smoke indica. When I have lunch, I do cocaine. Just kidding. No, well, yeah, I think a lot of it is like a social atmosphere because like, if I'm at a party, I'm gonna want to do whatever's there. If I'm alone, then I'm just probably going to wind myself down. They're hard to get, but shrooms, that's my favorite drug, shrooms. Those are crazy good. And it's all natural. They're vegan, baby.
Honestly, like, okay, Cyril knows this. I bought shrooms, okay, and I tried the shrooms. I tried like, I'm gonna say a gram. A gram is literally one piece of shroom, and I thought I would at least feel something. But apparently you have to take like 3 or 4 to feel anything. And that, you guys, does not taste great. It tastes disgusting.
Oh, I hate mushrooms to begin with.
And they look so scary and
They're
gross.
gnarly.
I hate the way they look.
They're so ugly. For like being such a great drug, they're so terrible.
You know what I'll compare them to? Moths. And I freaking hate moths.
That's actually a big.
Moths are
Wow.
the zombies of butterflies. Shrooms are the zombies of like those beautiful mushrooms, like those cute red ones.
Red cap mushrooms.
Is that what
They're-
it is with the polka
Those are
dots?
cute.
Those are
Yeah.
hella cute.
Super
Fuck those
poisonous.
shrooms. Oh, no way is it.
They're not. I don't think they're edible.
Oh yeah, but I'm just. You can't eat butterflies. I'm just giving you an example.
I get what you're saying.
Okay, perfect.
I agree.
Yeah, thank you.
Because I like moths too.
That makes sense. You like dead things. Let me just say that.
Moths are living.
Fuck that. One thing I'm gonna tell you guys, I have the biggest phobia. Don't ever send me a picture of that shit. Don't ever talk to me about that. Okay, I just hate it. Back to shrooms.
Weird tangent.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great though. But yeah, shrooms they suck ass. They taste like shit and how do I explain it? They taste like eating an old person's ashes. It just tastes like death and just shit. It's
I
not
really
good.
hope you don't know what a dead person's ashes taste like.
No, totally. I never accidentally tripped into an urn and broke it.
Oh my god, don't. To be honest, instead of shrooms, fuck shrooms, I'd rather take acid.
Wow, manufactured drugs versus a God's green earth of drug. Acid's pretty cool too, though.
I swear. Okay, so one of my friends, he's like, "Yo, don't take shrooms," because I was like asking, I was like, "I want shrooms right now. Get me shrooms. I want to get shrooms. I'll pay you whatever."
Were those the same shrooms that you had for like 2 years?
Oh yeah, I didn't even tell you guys the story. So my friend, he was like, "Don't take shrooms," because I was like, "I want to buy shrooms right now. Like, get me these shrooms. Like, I want to understand how it feels like people apparently move out of their body."
Existence. Oh yeah.
I don't even freaking know. Okay, but I YouTubed it. Okay, YouTube's my bestie.
Honestly, yeah.
And
prepare yourself.
yeah, and I saw like all these levels of like how much shrooms you're supposed to take to like feel anything, and like the last level is like the godlike dose or whatever the fuck. And apparently that's when you fully like extend out of your body and you're like with earth. And I was like, bro, I want that.
I want to ascend into an ethereal plane.
Literally. And so I'm like, get me shrooms. Get me. Give it to me now. You know, and I was like, I need it. And he's like, don't take it. It's so disgusting. You're not gonna like it. Take acid instead. And like I convinced him. I don't know how the fuck he got convinced by me. But I convinced him to get me a shroom, and like we had a little bit and it didn't work, but then I wanted to try again. And so that's when I got these like shrooms from this other friend, and I had them forever. And I was just like terrified of taking it because they just looked so disgusting. And they smelled so bad.
They're quite intimidating, like as a drug. Like,
yeah, right? And I was like trying to sell it. Nobody would take it from me. And so I was like, okay, you know, fuck this. I'm just gonna have like these shrooms for the rest of my life. And I moved in with Ella and Cyril, and they're like, what the fuck?
Why do you have like a half a bag of shrooms that are like crunchy? You know, yeah, shrooms, they're good for some, not for all. Same with acid, any drug. But like acid is way more potent. Mm-hmm. 'Cause, like sometimes, like you'll do a half a sheet and it's like, you're good.
Yeah, I did half a sheet and my phone turned like yellow.
Nice.
It was awesome. But hey, when it was kind of like the feeling of Molly, when I took too much Molly, I started seeing a lot of shit.
Ooh, like what?
Have you like taken too much Molly before?
No.
Yeah, I took too much Molly, and it was during New Year's, and I just like, I was gone. Alcohol filled body and Molly, like fuck, like I was just fucked, okay? Yeah. And I started seeing stuff coming out of the walls, and I started seeing people wearing like sunglasses when they weren't wearing sunglasses. Ooh. Yeah, and I was like, take off your sunglasses. And they were like pink with a flare on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just looked out of this world. And I was like, why would someone wear these? You know?
You're just hallucinating that bad.
Yeah, I was like, what is going on? And I was like, holy fuck, like,
they're a blind person. You're just like, take off your sunglasses.
Yeah. I'm like, bro, wow. I was like, I love Molly.
And that's the moment she knew she was going to do Molly every day for the rest of her life. What a great way to end the story.
Oh my god. Honestly, the only drugs that I've ever literally done is I've smoked weed, I've taken Molly and acid and shrooms. That's it. I will never take any other drug ever. I'm gonna say that now. Watch me be a crackhead.
You're like setting yourself up for failure, because it's like, I am never gonna do these drugs. Yeah, when we were kids, we also said, I'm never gonna smoke dope.
Oh yeah,
yet here we are.
I was like, I'm never touching weed. I'm not doing anything, and I will never drink alcohol. I'm not gonna be like those idiots that I see every day, and I'm that. But we grew up. I love it. That's what being an adult is. It's about exploring those options and having fun with your life, but don't take it to the extent where you have to have it as like a fix for like your mental health, for example.
Oh yeah, that's like a big thing with like mental health. It's weird because it's like we're kind of going circle, but it's like it's circular. That's what I like. Mm-hmm. It's with mental health and the use of drugs. There is that certain line that you have to draw for yourself, because there's medicines for literally everything. You know, there's depression, psychotics. There's ones for like sleeping, and being mentally unstable while also taking these drugs, you really have to watch out for dependency, because with certain drugs that are pushed by doctors and physicians, they're more or less pushed for the pharmaceutical reps. You know, you've heard of pharma reps.
Yeah.
How like individuals will go into a doctor's office, they'll take the doctor out to lunch, they'll go golfing, maybe they'll get a cut of the shares of however many pills that they prescribe.
Yeah.
And it's like pill commission, you know? It's such a gross industry that when you take these pills that are pushed, like there was that one pill that was like Adderall or something, and they labeled it as, they sold the pill basically as a happy, sexy, skinny drug, because it made people so dependent on it. It was basically like heroin in a pill form, and it made people lose appetite, dependent on the drug, depressed, everything you can name, and like including the prescription you had.
Oh yeah.
Where it was like may cause depression or increase depression, may cause panic attacks, blah blah blah, and you did experience those. And like others, when you read the reviews, you saw that they shared similar experiences despite the doctor swearing by the drug. You know how he said it's like, oh, this is what you need, this is perfect. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you can tell, and then sometimes it is. It's just being able to like figure that out for yourself.
Yeah, I think the scariest part is getting prescription meds for your mental health, because it's all about rewiring your brain. Because it's kind of different if you get prescription meds for pain in your body. For example, you could easily take like an Advil or whatever, or something that really relates to where you want to fix that pain or problem. But anyways, prescription drugs for your mental health are just, it's so much more dangerous in so many more ways. And I actually got an email from somebody a week or two ago, and they emailed me and they were like, oh, I feel responsible for the fentanyl pandemic, and I feel like I need to have a say in, or I need to apologize because I feel responsible for the pill epidemic. And I was like, what the frick? This guy is like...
It was just a random email?
Yes, it was a random email. And the thing is when I was recording with Fia, I got that email right after, like the next morning. So I got like super weirded out. I'm like, oh my gosh, what the fuck? Because we kind of talked about that drug that I was taking.
Oh.
Yeah. So like that really reminded me of what you were telling me about, like how they commission the prescription drugs and stuff. I was like, oh my god, what if this is real? Like, it's 100% real, like, in daily life, but this dude just coming to me and emailing me, I'm like, holy shit, like...
It's out of nowhere.
Yeah, but I asked somebody, and they're like, no, he's probably just, like, out of his mind, and I'm like, I don't know, I feel like we're all out of our minds, and, like, this guy is just, like, trying to apologize to the world because he caused the pill epidemic, but,
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole opioids crisis is kind of insane. Especially, yeah, fentanyl, it started off as like an in-hospital drug. You know how there's like, for people in rehab, like severe rehab, they get legal heroin. Or, when you get a surgery, basically, the drugs that you're put on after are basically the clinical versions of street drugs. So you know how there's fentanyl now? That was, I'm probably wrong, but that was used in hospitals to treat rehab patients. That's why it's so potent and like so strong and so easily to get hooked on. Like I know like 5 people that all got, just because of one person got hooked on it. It was like a domino effect. Like one person got hooked, he hooked this person, that person hooked that person, and it's just insane. And it all started with like hospitals, like developing the drug, like the developers.
Yeah.
And yeah, those are legal because they're safely consumed.
You know, I feel like older generation, they really don't believe in, let's say, weed or, yeah, 100%. Like, my mom hates the fact that I smoke weed.
Oh my God, same.
Yeah, but honestly, it's kind of a way for us to really use that as an escape from, like, our daily lives. You know, we work every day and we do so much every day. Like, we need some type of thing to kind of give us that little edge. But I don't smoke weed that often, which is great because I feel like weed just made me get anxiety.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like it exacerbated certain aspects of your like your mental health.
Yeah, exactly. Because when I used to smoke sativa, I would smoke it every day, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now like I can't even smoke it. So like it makes sense why, let's say, like the older generation would disagree with it, but they all do it. And the thing is there's such a huge stigma behind like taking drugs, that everyone in this world takes drugs, but it depends on what kind of drug you're using. You know, it's not like I'm a meth head. You know, I'm just smoking weed.
Honestly, you're fine. It's like a lot of it has to do with the media and how the public sees or interprets weed.
The media really, especially when we were young, they're like, no weed, don't smoke weed, it's bad for you, you're gonna die, literally.
Yeah, literally advertisements back in the day, Reaganomics, DARE, like I can't remember what it stood for, but it was all of these campaigns to stop weed smokers or dope smokers, and which is kind of insane when you think about the Reagan-Nixon presidencies, because it's like that's when they brought drugs into like Black communities. You know, they brought cocaine and like all of these drugs to destabilize these communities. I was like, those are like proven CIA, WikiLeaks kind of shit, you know, that you like, they are facts. And under Reagan, do you remember that Michael Jordan video where he's like sat in a gray or brown suit? He's like, stop it, get some help. That's from an anti-drug ad. From the Reagan administration, yeah. And it's like there's a whole bunch of like weird commercials that you see because they were so against drugs. And we remember that as kids, or like growing up into adults from kids. It's like, just don't do drugs and blah, blah, blah. But when I'm like talking to my parents, like nowadays, I'm just like, yeah, I'm fucking ripped. And then you're just like, oh, you're so bad, don't do that. I'm like, Mom, I know you guys used to party like crazy people when I was kids. Don't start with me, woman. Like, I'm your age when you were doing this shit. Like, just be honest.
At this point, because I came out with the podcast, I'm like, I don't care anymore. Like what my mom knows about me at this point.
Hi, Mom.
Hey, Mama. But at the same time, it's like I kind of have to share these experiences because there's so many people out there that really hate on the fact that, let's say, people smoke weed. It's different from person to person, you know, and there's medical marijuana.
Exactly. Yeah.
Weed has so many benefits in so many ways, and people even with, I think, Alzheimer's smoke weed to kind of help them.
Yeah, certain cancer patients are prescribed weed to deal with like the pains of cancer.
So, yeah, honestly, I just want to get rid of that and be like, yo, weed or let's say Molly or acid, as long as you understand where they're coming from, because sometimes you can get bad weed. When you buy anything that's laced, it could happen anytime. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why you have to like trust your sources, trust where you're getting it from, educate yourself in what you're consuming, because honestly, like me personally, I'm not gonna like go buy acid or Molly from someone like I don't know for,
like a
you know what I
trusted
mean?
source.
Exactly. And I think that's what we usually do nowadays. Everyone just gets like referrals basically.
Yeah, they have their dealers, and their
Yeah.
dealers know their friends. Yeah.
Exactly. So it is like a kind of safe world that you have, as long as you understand where you're getting it from, and as long as you surround yourself with people that can help you during that time. Because hey, if you do green out, that's with weed. And even though we're saying like weed isn't bad for you and all that type of stuff, you might green out, and that's not a great feeling.
Exactly. Take everything we say with a grain of salt. I always say, if you're not sure of what you're trying, try it with people that care about you. Because it's like, I will never try a new drug alone or without people that are able to get to me should something happen. You know, because it's like you really don't know what could go wrong, especially with like when you're alone and it's something unfamiliar. Like, there's this one kid that I knew, his weed when he was like 13 was 13. Like smoking weed. His was laced with salvia. It was that's a thing.
He's 13.
Exactly. It was like doused. So like they dropped it on, and he was fucked that day. But you know, that's why you do it like with people you love in a safe environment, so that you can experience the effects of whatever you're ingesting and trying without the possibility of dying or getting addicted.
Yeah, 100%. As we said, this all goes like full circle, and it all has to do with your mental health too. Like, you can't just keep, like, for me, I'll give you guys an example. Like, for myself, I smoked weed literally every single day. Even I'm gonna admit, like, before work, I couldn't function without smoking weed. And like now, I can't smoke weed before work, like, at all.
Oh, it's changed that much.
Yeah, it's changed that much. Like, I will literally freak out, or I might have a panic attack because I'm at work. Because I'm like freaking myself out and being like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get caught. And it really has like a lot to do with how I was before. And I was like, before, I didn't give a shit about my life. I didn't give a shit about my job. I didn't give a shit if I did anything. And that's why I smoked weed whenever.
Yeah.
And now, because I do give a shit about my job and my mental health, and because I'm just like fucked, and I feel like weed really gave me a lot of anxiety, I just can't smoke it before work or anything important, because I just freak out. And I remember like one time I had a really important interview. Yeah, it was really bad. And so I decided to smoke weed before it. And it just went horribly. I was shaking. I didn't know what to say. I was like, it was like the worst. And it was such an important interview. Yeah. And so I realized like after that, I'm like, holy shit, like I can't even have a proper interview anymore, because I'm so reliant on just needing to smoke weed to feel like that's the only way I can have a conversation with someone. Yeah. And that's the only way I can make people or make people think I'm more inviting. Is because I'm high.
So it is like a booster.
Exactly. Because naturally as a person, I'm not really energetic I'm more like laid back and chilled out, and I don't like to talk that often.
I would argue against that.
Really?
Yeah, I think you're pretty outgoing. Like, just as like a baseline standard, you're like pretty up there, you know?
Yeah.
You like get people going.
So, see, I feel like that really has a lot to do with how we really think of ourselves. I feel like I put myself in a really low standard where I feel like, oh, I am just like I don't do anything and I'm just boring and people don't think I'm interesting. But hey, it's the opposite, I guess. I'm amazing.
Gotta look at yourself objectively, honey.
Yeah, but honestly, that's how I was back then. Like, I needed to smoke weed to feel like that's the only way I can have a connection with somebody or communicate with anyone or literally function. Because I was just so low as a person and I didn't know how to communicate with people properly, and I was just like always too depressed. And now that I know exactly how I feel and how weed makes me feel, I feel like now I could actually take that out of the picture.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because I don't need to be smoking weed before work or important interviews, you know. I shouldn't be smoking weed as soon as believe it or not, like I couldn't even go to my family's without smoking weed.
Oh, yeah.
Because I felt like I couldn't be sober around anybody.
Around family, that's fair. I can't be sober going home. I feel that.
In any situation, I was just like, I need weed. I can't function. And even with friends, it got that bad. It really got bad. And so, yeah, I just, now that I look back, I'm like, oh, that's good. I calmed down from smoking too much. And when I do smoke it, it just feels like a good high.
Like a recreational thing.
Tolerance has lowered for me. Thank God.
Nice.
Yeah. And so I'm just, hopefully I don't get panic attacks anytime soon because of weed. But yeah, I'm going to just say that just understand yourself, get to know yourself, know your tolerance, and don't get too hooked on something that you feel like is an escape from reality, because sometimes you do have to live that reality.
Yeah.
Like you have to deal with life.
It is, a lot of it is escapism. Like just not being able to do, like back to escapism, like you're escaping your reality. And weed helped you with that.
Yeah, 100%. But like I have to be present. You know, that's the most important thing. And I feel like, I remember I was like, oh my God, I'm going to smoke weed before my podcast. I'm completely sober now. But before, in the other episode that I did, I'm so baked. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I did it 20 million times.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't smoke weed before podcast either. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like, it really depends.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes, maybe because I have Cyril next to me, that gives me a boost and that helps me.
My crackhead energy.
You know, Cyril's my weed. There you go. Aw. So I guess like when I do it alone, it's just a little bit different, and maybe I need that to help me focus. But obviously, I know my limit and I know like how much I can smoke now, because I will literally get a panic attack.
Oh,
so,
no. If you smoke too much, you'll like, that's okay. You don't green out. You have a panic attack.
Yeah. So I wish I greened out now. Oh my gosh. I know like the other day when we all smoked together, I smoked way too much. I think I smoked my pipe and then I smoked out of your thing. I don't even remember. And
you like fell asleep at the table.
Yeah, and I was like, holy shit, that whole time I felt like I was gonna puke, and I just needed to like go to bed. And I was like, okay, I need to relax. I should like stop doing this to myself, because it's not really helping me. And I know that I'm getting like these panic attacks. I don't know if I told you what happened to me like literally a few days ago. I was at a friend's and I smoked weed, and I literally had a panic attack on her balcony because I just saw too much gore and like bad shit happening.
That's quite literally one of your triggers.
Yeah,
No wonder.
Oh my gosh, I literally can't handle any of that. And everyone knows I can't handle gore or anything. And so I had a panic attack on her balcony. And I was like, oh my gosh. Oh. The thing is, when I leave the house, I try to like go and relax and be in a new environment, because I feel like if I'm in the same place for too long, I just feel like I need to go do something with my life, or else I'm gonna go fall back to how I used to be before.
Yeah.
Because before, I used to just like sit on the couch, eat like 2 large pizzas to myself, like 2 bags of chips that are like this gigantic.
And family sharing.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I like did not give a shit about myself. I didn't care about going to the gym, about anything that I ate, about how I looked. I was just like, you know what? My goal is to be 300 pounds. That's what I would say to my mom.
Wow.
Yeah, because this kind of goes back to like how when I was younger, I was just like gaining weight too fast. Mm-hmm. So I was like, even when I was like 120, that's so thin, and I was like, I'm so fat.
Oh yeah.
And so even though like sometimes on a daily basis I was told, oh, you're gaining weight, getting fatter, maybe you should like calm down. And I'm like, you know what, if I'm getting fatter, maybe I should just keep getting fatter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In for a penny.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. You know, I'm going to just be 300 pounds and be that person on the 600-pound life. I just did not give a fuck, bro. And so, like, as I got older, I, like, started realizing, oh my gosh, I'm so much bigger, and I just like all that weed that I was smoking was making me eat even more. Mm-hmm. And it started making me delusional to the point where I was like, oh, I'm like fine, I'm thin, because nobody told me I was gaining weight. This is a whole different topic for another episode about like weight gain and stuff, but like nobody ever told me, because I feel like a lot of people kind of hide that, and they don't want to just make you feel bad. So obviously they're not going to be like, oh, you're fat or you're gaining weight.
Yeah, I'm not going to like look at my best friend and be like, you're packing it on. Like, yeah. It's smoking. I would feel so terrible if I said that to anyone.
But at the same time, I was like, yeah, it is a tough situation, because like I was gaining weight and no one was telling me, but at the same time I was like so delusional enough to like think that I was not gaining weight, and I was just like fine, and at least I wasn't 200 pounds. I was at 170 during that time, and as soon as I hit 220 pounds, oh my gosh, I was like, bro, what the fuck? I couldn't do it anymore. 220 pounds, bro.
It was like the breaking point.
That was and so I started like going to the gym, and the thing is, I'm gonna just say this, weed helped me a lot when I was at the gym.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's the good thing about it, is because even though it made me like eat so much and made me gain so much weight over the years, I found it useful in something else, and I used it towards something else to benefit me.
That's good.
Yeah, so that's why I kind of like, sometimes I try to like manipulate myself into thinking things.
Oh yeah, fake it till you make it.
Exactly. So I'm like, okay, yo, I need weed to work out. And so I would just smoke weed to work out, and it like gave me adrenaline.
Okay.
Because during that time, like I I smoked sativa like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And I was just way too chilled out as a person. Like if I went to the gym, I would just be lazy.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I need to smoke weed. This will be great. So I smoked weed every time before I went to the gym, and like it was amazing. Yeah.
It worked out.
Exactly. And see, that's where my story is pretty long, but that's where you kind of need to find that balance of what you can use weed for. If you just smoke weed and like order pizza and that's all you're gonna do and just sit in front of your couch and like eat, the things that we do, like we would smoke weed, we would come together and we would have a good time, have like a family conversation,
enjoy it,
and not waste it on just like sitting down and like being a couch potato, because that's how I was. And I regretted it so much. Like, oh my god, it was like the worst. But all that weed gone to waste in my tummy.
Oh my god.
With all that food. Instead I could have just, I don't know, I'm like rambling.
You could have, oh no, you're not. I totally get your story. And I agree completely. Like it is a lot with like how you use your high, quote unquote, because when you were younger, you used it, and it kind of exacerbated certain parts of your mental health, I would say. Like when you put yourself down, you're like, I'm quiet and shy. Well, that's not a put down, but like, you know, when you don't feel the best about yourself and you smoke weed as an escape, kind of comes back to you in that you regress, you know? And when you told yourself, okay, I'm not going to smoke weed and eat on the couch anymore, because you realized that smoking weed just to laze around pulled you down. It like made you regress back into that little girl that wasn't sure of herself, like had terrible mental health and like blah blah blah. But when you utilize the weed and the high to your advantage, when you started going to the gym and like it was mentally stimulating and gave you energy, I think that's the best way you can use weed, is like, or any type of drug, is just use the drug to better yourself, not to stop yourself from feeling. There's like a lot of people have breakthroughs like on weed or drugs. There's friggin' ayahuasca, America. There's like an entire friggin' tribe of people that just do peyote and ayahuasca all day because it's spiritually enlightening for them. It's like a drug from South America. I'm not well versed in it, so don't quote me on this, but there's some resorts that you can go to where you just do ayahuasca all day, and it's like mental health and like spiritual resorts. So you pay money to like go there, and like some white guy in a Hawaiian shirt will like meet you, and he'll explain like the history of the ayahuasca, what you're gonna do on the escape, and how it affects you. And it's insane when you think about it. Like people pay money to go there and have fun with these drugs because the drug laws there are so lax. Like, you know, we couldn't have that in Canada.
Wow.
But yeah, it's all about how you utilize, and like those tribe that use ayahuasca spiritually, they use that specifically for ritualistic purposes and finding an inner self. They're not lazing around the rainforest, you know, eating bags of chips. It's like,
yeah, literally. Oh my gosh. That's what I love about this, is it kind of just, everything has something to do with one another, you know?
Yeah.
Like if you're doing these drugs, it either has something to do with your mental health, or it either has something to do with the fact that literally just your mental health. Because I was going to say escapism again, but like that really does. It's all about your mentality, your mind. You know, your thoughts are so powerful. Anything that you do to yourself has an effect on those brain cells that you call job.
My
You
brain
call
cells.
John and Bob. But yeah, those two brain cells that you have left, just like me right now, you'll lose them. You know, some aspects of your mind, there's some things that will kind of like, let's say, detach. I was going to say that everything really does come full circle. Like the drugs that you use, how you use it, whether you use it for like your mental health or whether you use it for just like pain in your body, just understand what you're taking, basically, is all I'm trying to say. And understand that not every drug is bad for you. As long as you know your limit and as long as you, I'm going to say not every drug is bad for you. Drugs are bad for you, kids. Okay?
Don't do drugs.
Exactly.
Everyone. Yeah.
Limit yourself from taking excessive amounts of drugs. Okay, that's the most important thing. We're not saying don't smoke weed. We're not saying like don't do Molly because that'll be hypocritical because we literally do that.
Yeah.
But understand your limits and understand what these drugs do because mom and anybody out there,
Future employers.
exactly, like weed, everyone does it, I swear. Say you're the big head CEO of like Sports Check. I don't even know.
Oh my God.
I bet you he smokes weed every day.
CEOs do the most drugs.
Oh,
and
yeah.
criminal activities. Are you kidding me?
See, you guys take that as a great example. Even the most successful people do the worst of drugs. Thank God you're not. You're better than them.
Yeah.
Okay?
You're not doing drugs. Those are illegal.
Literally. Like,
No, but yeah, you just gotta work in moderation and make sure you don't exploit.
yeah. The thing is I feel like the only reason why, let's say, these CEOs do all these drugs is 100% because of like the pressure that they go through and all the shit that they go through on a daily basis. But I'm sure that they know their limits because they're very successful human beings and they know what they're taking. Who knows? I don't know anyone of those people, but the thing is as I was getting at before, just know what you're doing. You know, don't get yourself into trouble that you don't need to get into. Cyril made crack before.
Okay.
Explain that to us, please.
It was a Saturday morning. I woke up from my Friday night bender and I just go upstairs and my roommate's friend who was crashing on our couch at that time, he was just chilling in the living room. I was like, what are you up to? He was like, oh, just cutting some stuff up. Oh, sorry, I should have mentioned. He was a dealer of various substances. I don't know how to explain that. Oh, it's fine. I'm not saying names.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, oh, just cutting it up. And he had all of these like bottles and stuff and like dishes and like some tinfoil or something just around him. I was like, what? This looks like a science experiment. What are you up to? And he's like, oh, I'm just cooking. I was like, oh, you're dead ass making crack. And he's like, yeah. Do you want me to show you? I was like, yeah, show me. And then he did. I'm not gonna say if I made it or not, but I did learn a certain skill that I had not previously
expected.
Yeah, I had no idea. If you would have told me when I was 10 years old, hey, you know what? You're gonna know how to make crack one day because like some skinny dude is just chilling at your house is gonna show you. I wouldn't have believed you. I would have probably called my deacon at my local church. You don't know where life takes you, and all you can do is roll with it, I guess. And just if you are gonna do drugs, understand yourself, educate yourself. Like,
I remember like one time you mentioned that like you're glad that you don't make crack because like of having to look over your shoulder constantly and having to worry constantly. That's what happens.
Exactly. That's the thing with like when you deal with heavy drugs, like such as cocaine, and like things that are extremely difficult to get off of and work through and are literally life ruining, you realize that it's like you can't get yourself caught up in that, you know, especially when you see its effects. Like, I thank God weed is legal in Canada now, because I would not fuck with dealers anymore, just for like my peace of mind, you know. I like to know what I buy, where it's grown, who's selling it to me, and making sure that it's like not tampered in any way, which is what I appreciate from the whole legislation. With these other drugs, you aren't 100% sure of what you're getting because it's non-regulated. You know, because you can, the guy I knew, he swore up and down that he was the cleanest guy in the city. He didn't cut anything with anything. I believe him. But when you talk to like a stranger and you say the same thing, you don't know the person personally. You don't know what the hell you're getting, you know?
Yeah.
Like, especially with shrooms, anything that you don't buy in a store isn't regulated, in my opinion. Yeah, shrooms were a real hit and miss. Every other bag was just weird.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, that's why I don't fuck with shrooms. That's a sign.
Pussy.
That's a sign that shrooms suck.
That sounds like depression.
Oh my god, better than shrooms.
Wow.
Actually, no, I'm not even gonna say that. Fuck. Like, oh my gosh. Honestly, drugs, know where they're coming from and know how to use them. And
know yourself.
And know yourself. 100%. Know yourself. Understand who you are as a human being. Get to know yourself a little bit, you know? Have, like, some time with yourself. Chill. Yeah. Have a me day. And I feel like when you really start getting to know who you are as a human being, you really start to know what you like and what you don't like, and what your limits are, and how to really take care of yourself. Because I feel like the people who don't know how to take care of themselves are the people who are so closed off from like growth and learning. Like, one time I gave a gift, a book, a self-help book, and I swear to God, I don't think that book till this day has ever been read. Oh. And that's kind of like the sad thing about it, is like certain people who just don't want growth in their life. Yeah. That's where you're kind of stuck, and that's kind of where drugs will kind of come in and act as an escapism for some people. So do your best to get to know yourself, because that's the funnest thing. Yeah. Everyone's kind of narcissistic. Like, why don't you add a little bit more? Exactly. Sprinkle a little bit more of me.
Exactly. Honestly, if you're going to like learn about yourself, enjoy learning about yourself. You know, like you smoke drugs, that's fine. Drugs inherently aren't bad substances. How you use them is what determines if they're good or bad. You're not bad for doing drugs. You're not bad for wanting to do drugs. You're not bad for choosing not to do drugs. It's all about you, baby. You just gotta figure that out. And if drugs help, so be it. If they don't, make sure you catch yourself before that.
Yeah, 100%. You
just gotta be safe. Educate, read, learn all you can.
Yes.
Be safe. Yes. First and foremost.
Yes, 100%. Oh man, thank you so much for being on this episode right now.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you guys, I probably didn't even mention this in the beginning, but Cyril's my roommate. Oh, yeah. Love of my life. Oh. So I was like dying to have her on this podcast, and we finally did it. Oh my gosh. And I wanted to talk about like a topic that we both really like talk about normally on a daily basis, and I feel like it's good to have you guys in the conversation because hey, maybe you'll relate to us as well.
Honestly,
You know?
it's hard finding people that can speak candidly about drugs and like their usage.
People think they know everything about drugs and
Oh my god, yeah.
and that, oh my gosh, I know how to do this and that, but low key, like, nobody knows anything. Okay, no one's an expert. Even your dealer knows nothing. Okay,
Yo.
like, unless you're like literally growing your own weed at home, maybe you'll know a little bit, but low key, you still don't know shit.
Exactly.
Take this as like a stepping stone, a learning curve into kind of getting to know yourself. And hey, if getting to know yourself involves drugs, that's fun, you know? It's fun. Know your limits, okay? Don't do cocaine.
Yeah.
Okay?
If anything, don't do methamphetamines or crack cocaine.
Yes,
Or
don't
fentanyl.
or anything that you inject yourself with. Like, I don't want to give you guys ideas right now, okay?
Yeah.
But don't do any hard drugs. I'm gonna just say that it's not worth it. Like, if you watch movies or anything about those people that are going through all these things with these harsh drugs, it's real, bro.
Yeah.
It's real. Okay, even if they're like stabbing themselves with the needle, like that's kind of low key how it looks like in real life, but a little bit more disturbing, I think. So don't dig yourself into that hole. Don't create that future that you don't want.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't give yourself an opportunity to ever touch these drugs. If you're offered it, don't worry about it. Don't do it. Don't even consider it because your life is worth a lot more than a fleeting high.
Yeah, and there's no such thing as peer pressure. If you know who you are as a person, you can stand up for yourself. And that's all I'm going to say. If you can't stand up for yourself, then 100% you're going to be peer pressured into doing these certain things. And that's why it's so important to get to know yourself as a human being, because then you can start to stand up for yourself. It all comes full circle at this point. Like, know who you are, understand your surroundings, understand the environment that you're in, who you're friends with will be there with exactly when you're doing these certain drugs that you decide to take. It's all about understanding and learning. Yep. That's all that it's about, to be honest.
We're all learning.
Exactly. So thank you. I feel like I've said thank you so many times.
No, yeah. It's because we have tangents and I have ADHD.
I love tangents.
I love ADHD.
Oh, I love that.
Medication.
You know, that's what creates these episodes. I love you so much.
I love you.
Thank you so much. And you guys, Cyril has an amazing photography page if y'all want to like follow it. I'm gonna tag her Instagram page because y'all need to know who I spoke to. Obviously, it's not some random.
Should tag like, I don't know, who's a shitty person right now. Tag
Donald
Trump. Instead of me.
Oh my god, as a special guest I just have Donald Trump's picture.
We're gonna talk about drugs.
Exactly. Oh, well, I love you again, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come here and do this.
Thank you for having me and even considering me to be on your...
I hope you come back.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, there's so many more topics and episodes that are going to come out, and Cyril will be back. So, y'all, I know you love her already, so she'll be back for another episode.
Everyone's closed the app. They've reported your Spotify.
Everyone's done.
It's like, get her!
All right. I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and look forward to the next episode. See you there. Bye.
Bye.